What if following Jesus costs everything you've spent your whole life protecting? What if the faith that once brought you comfort is actually asking for something far deeper, something far more unsettling? Because one day you may stand before Christ, look into his eyes, and realize you followed him halfway, but never fully. Jesus once said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." And those words are not soft. They are not easy. They are not designed to make you feel safe. They are a call that reaches into the deepest part of your soul and asks, what are you still holding on to? What have you refused to lay down before the Lord? Many people have believed in him for years. They've prayed, they've sat in church, they've spoken his name with respect. Yet quietly, deep inside, there remains a line they will not cross, a part of life they will not surrender. And that is where this message becomes terrifying, because following Christ was never meant to fit neatly into our plans. It was meant to transform them completely. And if that truth makes you uncomfortable, if something inside you hesitates, if your heart feels a quiet resistance even now, then stay with me. Because what Jesus asked of his followers was never casual, never partial, and what he meant by these words may change the way you see your faith forever. When Jesus spoke these words in Gospel of Luke, he was not addressing a quiet room of devoted followers alone. He was speaking to a crowd, ordinary people, curious listeners, individuals who were drawn to his miracles, his wisdom, his presence. And yet, instead of offering comfort, he gave them a condition, something that cut deeper than expectation, something that separated admiration from true devotion.
He said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." And within that single sentence are three movements, three steps that cannot be separated. Deny yourself, take up your cross daily and follow him, not occasionally, not when it feels right, but continually, faithfully, completely. To deny yourself does not simply mean giving up a bad habit. It is far more personal, far more searching. It means stepping away from the version of life where you remain in control, where your desires sit on the throne, where your plans come first. It means allowing the Father to reshape your will, even when it challenges everything you've grown comfortable with. Then comes the part many quietly overlook, taking up your cross. Because in that time, the cross was not a symbol of jewelry or decoration. It was a sign of surrender, of suffering, of walking a path that led away from self-preservation. It meant saying yes to God, even when it cost you something real, something personal, something visible only to heaven. And then follow him, not just in belief, but in movement, in direction, in daily choices, aligning your life with Christ, step by step, decision by decision, trusting that his path, even when difficult, leads towards something eternal, something filled with peace, purpose, and truth. This is not a teaching meant to inspire from a distance. It is an invitation that demands response, because Jesus did not ask for admiration, he called for transformation. And the question that quietly lingers is not whether we have heard his words, but whether we are truly living them. There is something deeply uncomfortable about the words of Jesus Christ here, something that does not easily settle into a peaceful, predictable life. Because denying yourself is not a single decision made years ago. It is a quiet, ongoing surrender that reaches into the hidden corners of the heart, into the places no one else sees, where pride still whispers, where control still feels safe, where letting go feels almost impossible. Many people have walked with faith for decades. They have built routines, traditions, patterns that feel familiar. Yet somewhere along the way, the cross became lighter, less demanding, more symbolic than real.
And without even noticing, the call of Christ was softened into something manageable, something that no longer disrupts, no longer stretches, no longer asks for everything. But the truth remains. The cross was never meant to be comfortable. It was never meant to blend into daily life without resistance. It stands as a constant reminder that following Him requires a kind of surrender that touches identity, decisions, relationships, even the deepest desires we hold on to in silence. And that is where the struggle begins, because part of us wants the peace of heaven, yet another part resists the cost of true obedience. Think about the moments when you felt that quiet nudge from the Father, when you knew what was right, yet hesitated, when forgiveness felt too heavy, when letting go of control felt too risky, when obedience seemed to demand more than you were ready to give. Those moments are not small. They are where the meaning of this teaching becomes real, where faith moves beyond words and into action. And perhaps the most sobering part is this: it is possible to walk near Christ, to appreciate His teachings, to believe in His name, and still hold back the very thing He is asking for, the full surrender of self, not out of rebellion, but out of fear, out of habit, out of the quiet belief that we can follow Him without fully yielding to Him. Yet His call has never changed. It remains steady, unwavering, reaching into every generation, inviting each heart to step beyond comfort and into trust, beyond control and into faith. And the question that lingers now is not whether this path is difficult, but whether we are willing to walk it, even when it leads us away from everything we once relied on. So what does this look like? Not in theory, not in distant reflection, but in the quiet, ordinary rhythm of your everyday life. Because the call of Christ is not reserved for dramatic moments. It unfolds in small decisions, in unseen choices, in the way you respond when no one else is watching.
Perhaps it begins with something simple, yet deeply personal. A conversation where you choose patience instead of anger. A memory where you finally release a long-held resentment. A situation where you step back from the need to control and instead trust the Father, even when the outcome feels uncertain, even when the path ahead is unclear. Taking up your cross daily means recognizing that surrender is not a one-time act. It is a pattern, a posture of the heart. It is waking up and quietly saying, "Lord, not my will, but yours," even in the small things, even in the moments that seem insignificant, because those moments shape the direction of your soul over time. There may be areas you have carried for years, habits, fears, attachments that feel like part of who you are, and yet deep inside you sense that gentle, persistent call to let go, not all at once, not perfectly, but honestly, step by step, trusting that His grace meets you there, not with condemnation, but with guidance, with strength, with a peace that slowly replaces the weight you've been holding. And this is where many hesitate, because surrender can feel like loss, like giving up something valuable, something familiar. Yet what Christ offers in return is not emptiness, it is transformation. It is a deeper sense of purpose, a quieter kind of hope, a steadiness that does not depend on circumstances, but on the presence of heaven within you. So the question becomes personal, not distant, not abstract. Where is He asking you to trust Him more? Where is He inviting you to release control, to forgive, to step forward in faith? Because following Him is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about choosing again and again to walk with Him, even when the path feels narrow, even when it asks for more than you expected.
There is a quiet danger in hearing words like these too often, a subtle drifting that can happen over time, where truth becomes familiar, where conviction softens, where the voice of Jesus Christ no longer carries the same weight it once did. And without even realizing it, a person can begin to shape faith into something more comfortable, something that asks less, something that no longer requires the surrender he spoke about so clearly.
This is not a harsh warning meant to bring fear for its own sake. It is a loving call to awaken. Because ignoring this path does not lead to peace, it leads to a quiet emptiness, a life that may appear steady on the outside, yet feels unsettled within, a faith that speaks of hope, yet struggles to experience it deeply, because something essential has been held back. And yet even here there is grace, because the Lord does not turn away the honest heart. He does not reject those who are willing to come back, to begin again, to take that step toward surrender, no matter how late it feels, no matter how long the hesitation has lasted. The door remains open. The invitation still stands. Following Him is not about losing everything that matters. It is about releasing what was never meant to carry your life in the first place. It is an exchange where control gives way to peace, where fear slowly transforms into faith, where the weight you have been holding is replaced by something lighter, something steadier, something anchored in heaven rather than in uncertainty. There comes a moment, quiet but undeniable, when each person must decide, not with words, but with direction. Will you continue holding on to what feels safe, what feels known, what feels within your control? Or will you trust Him enough to let go, to step forward, to follow even when the road is uncertain? Because in the end, this is not about how much you know or how long you have believed. It is about whether your life is moving toward Him, whether your heart is opening to His will, whether you are willing, day by day, to walk the path He has set before you, not perfectly, but sincerely, not fearfully, but faithfully. As this moment comes to a close, take a quiet breath. Let everything you've heard settle gently within your heart, not as pressure, not as fear, but as an invitation, a call from the Lord who sees you fully, who understands every step of your journey, every struggle, every hesitation, and still reaches out with patience, with love, with grace that has never left you. May you find the courage to trust Him more deeply, not all at once, not perfectly, but sincerely. May you discover a peace that does not depend on circumstances, but flows from the presence of the Father within you, steady and unshaken, even in uncertain days, even in moments when the path feels unclear. May your faith grow quieter, yet stronger, less about appearances, more about truth, less about control, more about surrender. And in that surrender, may you begin to experience a hope that feels real, something that carries you gently forward one step at a time, knowing that you are never walking alone, that Christ is near, guiding, strengthening, holding you in ways you may not always see, but can slowly begin to feel. And if something in this message has spoken to you, if it has stirred a reflection, a question, or even a quiet desire to walk closer with Him, you are always welcome here. This space is simply a place to pause, to listen, to grow, to be reminded of what truly matters. So if you feel led, you can stay connected. You can return whenever your heart needs it, and perhaps share this with someone who may also be searching, someone who may need a moment like this.
Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May His presence bring you peace. May His voice guide your steps. And may your journey with Him become not just something you believe in, but something you truly live, day by day, all the way toward heaven.